take us straight into the next session, because obviously with the pandemic, we have all sort of reduced how we can travel. And for our next session, we want to look at how we bring back the joy of travel. And I'm delighted to welcome in Natalie Amos, who is the Practice Director at 4Coms, who's going to be presenting on their new research all about the new traveller, with a special insight on MENA. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you so much. It's great to see you all online. And even just then in that last session, I learned a little bit more about the country in which I live. So just to introduce myself, so I'm Natalie Amos. I lead our lifestyle team here at 4Coms. I'm actually based in Dubai, but as Louise said, it's an hour away from Abu Dhabi. So from here, we work all across the region, obviously the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, KSA, Oman, Bahrain, and beyond. So I'm actually going to be presenting, so hopefully everyone can see my screen, a white paper, which is on the new MENA travellers. So I will just start and I'll get straight into it. Let me just check that everyone can see it okay. So basically, we work with a lot of travel and lifestyle clients here. So a lot of travel and tourism, as many of you will know, the region is one of the highest outbound travel markets, and it's growing. So people like to travel a lot, they invest a lot on travel, and as the couple of people before us discussed, because people have moved here for work, it does mean that there's a lot of opportunity for them to move around, to travel, to visit family and friends. So what we've really seen during the pandemic is, like everyone, global travel was really shut down. People really started to miss their family, their friends, for them, not having, the opportunity to go home. For many people, that was really significant. So people were really starting to evaluate what was important for them. For us, because we represent so many different travel and tourism clients here, we really wanted to know what are the trends, what are people going to be doing once travel and tourism is back on the agenda. We wanted to know who are the customers that are driving those trends, how they're traveling, what they're spending their money on, where they're going to, and where they're spending their travel time. So we actually have a product called Mapper 360. So it's basically insights. We have a team of analysts who look at thousands or millions of data points just to really see what are the trends in the region and how we can capitalize on them. I've just had a message. I just want to make sure that you can all see my screen okay. Great. Brilliant. So let's move on. So how did that work? So basically, we looked at 4 trends, so 4 major trends and 5 high-value audiences. So across the trends, what we really wanted to look at, we know that people are traveling, but we really wanted to know who are the ones that are going to be motivating tourism recovery. It's really important here because in the region, as I mentioned, it's a really significant market. If we look at various studies, right through from the MasterCard travel survey, right through to any international survey, if you look through where people are spending money, people from this region spend a lot more than other markets compared to Europe or the Middle East. So once people are abroad, or even if they're traveling on a staycation, they actually will invest a lot more, whether it's on holiday, on their actual hotels, whether it's traveling first class, whether it's length of stay, so it really is incredibly important. And also for them as well, it's a big, huge part of a number of the tourism visions. So there's UAE Vision 2030, there's Saudi Vision 2030, there's Dubai Vision 2021. So many of these are focused on diversifying the economies and moving towards less reliance on oil and gas and really looking at other areas such as tourism and entertainment, etc., etc. So some of you will know, because it sounds like you've received the targeted ads, that the UAE opened very soon for tourism. So for July 2020, that was when Dubai opened. Abu Dhabi also reopened. Saudi Arabia has also reopened for international travel. And destinations such as Egypt, Jordan, etc. They were very, they actually stayed open for quite some time. And optimism is incredibly high in the region. The economy is doing very well. So we're looking at 2.4% growth in the UAE. Saudi's really even higher. We're looking at 4% plus if you look at the latest IMF figures from October. So there's a huge amount of optimism here. So people who have saved a lot, particularly during the pandemic, are now starting to really spend their money. So a quick look at trends. As I mentioned, reunifications are incredibly important. So people really want to have fun. They want to spend time with their family and friends. We did a survey with one of our clients, Yes Island, and what they said was that having fun was a huge priority and having fun with their family who they haven't seen for a long period. We're also seeing a lot of intergenerational travel, so grandparents that have been separated. This is common throughout the world, but we're seeing a huge amount of it here. And then we're seeing travel bubbles. So the idea that people are actually taking entire private islands in the Maldives or in the Seychelles, or they're booking a private yacht, villas, etc., and just really going for fully safe, COVID-safe destinations. A lot of it is making up for lost time. So we heard a lot of discussion last summer from China about revenge holidays. So what we see now is that people have started to move beyond that, and they're moving towards very considered trips. So it's not so much about the revenge trips, it's about the delayed big holidays. So they may have got married, or they're celebrating, perhaps they got promoted, perhaps it's a wedding that hasn't taken place. So we're expecting those to be a lot bigger and better, and people are spending the money that they've saved. Wellness tourism globally is really important, but in the UAE, it's about 15% of the total tourism market, which is huge. So even personally, since January this year, I've actually done 7 yoga and wellness retreats. So I'm probably quite unusual in that, but we're very much seeing this trend. And it's people from all areas, all sectors, males and females, younger people and people of who are older as well. So this is really something that we're starting to see expand. So I just want to take a quick snapshot at the 5 consumers. So we have rejuvenating Razan, who's very focused on well-being and self-development. There's optimistic Omar, who will come on to all of these in a bit more depth. So he's really about the revenge travel. He hasn't quite matured beyond that yet. So the considered trips are still something that he's going to be doing in 2022. But in 2021, he's still doing a bit of the revenge work. And then we've got Rima, who we talked about earlier, who really wants to bring her extended family together for an intergenerational vacation. We have adventurous Ahmed. So he is all about experiences. He is away from home, although he lives perhaps in Dubai. He is from the wider region, but he really wants to make the most of his time here. Maybe he's going to be here for 15 years as part of his career plan, but he really wants to do things a bit differently and get off the beaten track. And then we have something that resonates with so many of my friends, the Fed Up Fergusons. Perhaps that's many of you who have really been stuck at home, homeschooling. So they really are going for that big bucket list experience. So we'll just spend a couple of minutes just on each individual. And what's important to note is that these are brands that we're seeing people following. So we've looked at how the propensity for people to actually follow and engage with these brands. So Razan has moved on originally from being someone who was very career focused, never really ate properly, didn't really spend much time on herself. So suddenly she sort of reinvented herself as a lifestyle guru, let's say. So for her, she goes on to TED, she follows all the talks, she's constantly learning. She goes to the local right market, which is our farmers market, and gets all her organic produce. And then she goes to all of the arts fairs, the design weeks, the art galleries. For her, she's really very much about living her best life. So we know that 35% of MENA residents report feeling stressed. It's actually higher within the UAE. It's more like 50% of UAE residents. So for Razan, because she's still working incredibly hard, she still wants to make sure that when she's traveling, it used to be pre-pandemic, 5 or 6 times a year. She's increased this slightly, but now she's doing, as well as her international holidays, she's doing staycations, she's doing trips just within the region. But for her, she wants to learn to cook, she wants to improve her yoga, she wants to do a bit more around arts and culture as well. Then we have our wonderful optimistic Omar. So he is the one that really wants to get out and about. He's saved quite a lot. He probably got promoted during the pandemic. His interest is technology. So for him, he always wants to be connected. He wants to have a change of scenery. He'll go to places like Cyprus or Greece or Turkey. And he wants to know that he's getting the best value for his trip. He only does quite short trips, but for him, he wants to do everything and dip into it all and have a great time. Okay, and then we have our Reuniting Rima. So this covers a multitude of nationalities, but the kids are third culture kids. So they've grown up from right from their childhood within the region. They really feel themselves that this is their home now, but they have aunties and uncles and grandparents who are within a 3-hour flight time from them. So they've really, Rima, who's the matriarch, she really needs to cater for the whole family and make sure that everyone's very well looked after. She follows Atlantis the Palm, for example. So, for her, that would be a great type of trip. She looks at all the malls. She's looking at Jumeirah Hotel. So they have properties in London, for example. They have properties in the Maldives as well as in the UAE. And time out is her mainstay. So more than half of almost half, I should say, of our Reuniting Rimas are checking Dubai's time out to see what's on. So basically, as people start to travel more, people are really looking at domestic trips primarily, which we've seen a lot of, but we know that 80% of people in the region, which we now know is the highest number in the world, are actually planning international trips. But for them, it's to really reconnect. People have been separated. Obviously, this is globally, but they really want to just make sure that they're doing a great trip and spending time with their family and friends. And then we're coming on to Adventurous Ahmed. So this, for him, this is our opportunity to really put somewhere very different on his agenda. As I mentioned, he likes to do things a bit differently. He likes to be engaged. He likes to see things that he would never experience normally. He likes to try new foods. He wants local experiences. He's a bit adventurous. For him, going to the Seychelles, or the Maldives, which we might traditionally see as a honeymoon destination, for people here, it's only a 3-hour or 4-hour flight time. So he might be going surfing in the Maldives, or he might be going hiking in Thailand. And for the first time in his life, you might think, gosh, let me go to Norway, let me go to the fjords, let me go to Spitsbergen, and he really wants to get under the skin and meet people locally as well. And then finally, that brings us on to the Fed Up Fergusons. So I think many of us can really feel them. They're your typical, let's say, Western expat. They're incredibly stressed. 90% or so of the UAE residents are expats. So, many have felt isolated. Maybe their families in Australia, maybe it's in the US, maybe they're from the UK. So they're really feeling a lot of pressure to make that big trip. They've been pretty conservative up until now, but they felt, now's the time for them. If they can't go home, they really want to do something that's a bit different. And it might be a 3-week-long holiday for them to really spend some time abroad. So here again, they're still following their national airlines. They're following the airports to see what the rules are. They're looking at, where can we go to, can we get back in to Dubai, etc. For example, if we travel out of it. And obviously for them, it's about value as well. So they want to know that they can really indulge on their trip and just make sure that they have a great time. So we're hearing a lot of talk about the idea that this year is going to be the biggest year ever, that it's going to be the year of the roaring 20s again. We know that people have saved a lot, particularly in the region. So the savings are some of the highest in the globe. So people are really eager to get out. They're still intent to keep saving and to keep building their future, but they really want to make up for that time. So it's a really great multi-billion-dollar opportunity for clients who are, or for marketeers who are looking at really investing in this region. We work with clients in the UK who are keen to capture this market, to attract this market back to London and other parts of the UK, whether it's for travel and tourism, whether it's for retail, whether it's property investment. But just, I really can't emphasize enough how captive and engaged this market is and how important that they are as things go on. So I hope that's very useful. This is a very short snapshot of the report, the white paper that we'll be sharing. And as Aisling mentioned, you can put your details in the link and receive a copy of it.
Thank you very much, Natalie. And with with your session that we've just had, we'll make sure it's available to everybody, and then you'll be able to see the slides from this presentation in that one as well. Is it okay if I add I've given everyone your LinkedIn, but would you mind if I add in the 4Com's email address and people can contact you that way as well?
Yep, absolutely. That's no problem.
Access to the reports. Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Thank you so much for that. That was incredibly insightful. It's definitely made me want to go on holiday, that's for sure. All this talk about sitting by pools and the sunshine, and then I look out my window and I'm wearing winter jackets and scarves at the moment. So yeah, I think I'm in the mood to go onto a holiday now. So thank you very much.